tākiri ko te ata, kōrihi ko te manu, ka ao, ka awatea, tihei Māori. Ko tamale sāna hau, te kai hautu o te ahu o te reo ki te tauhi. Ahu tia te whakaaro, ahu tia te kōrero, mai te kore, ki te pō, ki te ao mārama. Working as a teacher in the mainstream sector, what was that like as a Māori?
Kia ora te whanaunga. So I was teaching and working in the mainstream sector as head of Māori up in Tauranga for 15 years before I went to Australia. And yes, so even though when as a Māori teacher, teaching where your iwi are from and where you're from, teaching at my old schools too that I went to, so teaching whānau, tamariki of whānau, I had a lot of I suppose passion for it. That was the reason, and a lot of energy. Being a lot younger, first couple of years into teaching, you have all that energy and passion. And you want to do the best for the akonga. But yeah, so being a te reo teacher in mainstream, you are pretty much, you're the te reo Māori teacher, pai tērā. You're usually the only one in a school of 1,000, 1,500 akonga, 100 teachers. Might have other Māori teachers, but they don't teach te reo. So you're pretty much there by yourself, having to create a lot of the time your own resources and how you could tackle this part of the curriculum, te aha. And so pai tērā, so teaching of the reo was awesome over time, because you try and make the lessons fun and engaging and interesting. The number of akonga who took the reo increased over time quite largely. Also, you are expected to be the kapahaka tutor and teacher, which I was in pai tērā. I had those skills too. Also was in one of the local adult iwi kapahaka groups at the time. And as you know, try and teach the college groups, and then they go up into the adult groups. But what I noticed with teaching kapa, it had to be always either lunchtime, weekends, after school. It wasn't part of the curriculum then as it is now, I understand. So that was a huge difference. And I noticed that time we put in for that extracurricular mahi for kapa, there's no time in lieu that you can take, it's just part of what you have to do. And I noticed probably after 10 years of doing that, I started to get a bit tired and, not run down physically, but over time it takes its toll. And then I started getting a bit cynical towards the system. Okay, you can see all my colleagues leaving at 3 o'clock and just doing their mahi, and I'm still here over the weekend doing this and that. And pai, I was there for the kaupapa, but I suppose it came to a head when I had a lot of leave owing. So after 1 weekend of a hard out kapahaka noho marae, I was tired and I thought I'll take Monday off. And at the time I was also coaching the rugby, one of the rugby teams at school. So I went to go and watch the first 15 at 3 o'clock, I think, after school on Monday. And my principal at the time saw me, and he pulled me up the next day into his office and says, "Hey, I thought you're sick on Monday. but I saw you at rugby. And then I told him, you know, I've just finished the noho marae all weekend, tired. I wanted to take a day off just to, you know, relax a bit more and get the energy levels back. So I suppose from that time, it started making me think, look, I don't have to do all this extra mahi and not get appreciated for it. So, yeah. And then obviously, as you know, all the behaviour Māori, supposedly bad behaving Māori kids get sent to you because you're the Māori teacher and you're expected to be their counsellor, which, you know, as Māori teachers we do anyway, and we do well. We do well because, you know, that's that manaakitanga, that's who we are as people, as Māori people. That's what we do well.
Also have those connections into their whānau.
The connections, yeah. I could just say to them, look, do I need to give mum or dad a ring, or I just talk to them about, oh, you know, your dad and I used to play top rugby together, and you know, just those sort of connections. But yeah.
You talked about Australia, and you know, there's probably similarities, but there's probably some huge differences in the systems. Kōrero mai mo e tai o e rā ahuatanga?
Yep. Yeah, so taught in Australia for 10 years in high schools over there. And on the Gold Coast, so they say the Gold Coast is the second, you know, second place of Māoridom. So many Māori and Polynesian kids over there. And I was teaching at a high school full of Māori and Polynesian kids. So I noticed, you know, even though they're living in Australia, they look Māori, a lot of them still have that desire to learn about who they are. They've been displaced from their culture, born in Australia, most of them. So you've got a lot of whānau over in Australia who want that connection and to learn about the reo, kapa especially, whare tūtaua. So you see that quite strong in the Gold Coast and Brisbane, and no doubt all over Australia. So in our high school we had a culture group, but not just a kapa haka group, but culture for all the Polynesian cultures and Māori. And it was awesome. It was a way for those akonga, similar, to come together as one under those values of, you know, manaakitanga, connection, building relationships, safe place, and they loved it. And I noticed, well, I didn't notice it, but it was intentional. And would set up leadership positions for the seniors in the group, and it was positions that they really aspired to. The young ones, you know, that tuakana teina mentoring. Young ones would see the seniors being the leaders, not just of the kapa group, but of the whole school. They'd be the leaders of, like, the prefects, the head boys, the head girls. And so that was a positive thing I saw of building that leadership of our whānau over in Australia. Also, outside of high school, have in Queensland at the time, there were some really quite strong kapa haka groups. We got a strong peka of whare tūtaua there, who the group I was in were mainly the whare tūtaua, and we were sort of the sister group of Wakahuia, so some of them would come over and tutor us. So in the community, huge opportunities for Māori to learn their culture. Not so much as here, but definitely it's there. Yeah.
Did you see, like, in terms of the indigenous culture in Australia, what sort of you know, mana or status was that given within kura over there?
Yeah, totally different to here. Totally different. So at pretty much most schools over there may have a room set up, you know, probably similar to a Māori room you'd have in a kura here, where the indigenous tamariki akonga could go to once in a while and, you know, have lunch, or they might have a couple of extracurricular programs that they may do, but that's about it. There's no real classes. They do have cultural kapahaka Māori indigenous culture groups, but very, very basic, and because of that lack of focus on their culture and identity over there from the top down, a lot of the indigenous kids, they're lost. Footy's more important to them. Yeah.
It's interesting because there's that rhetoric now that te reo Māori is heard and seen everywhere, but there's still a long way to go. And what do you think some of the not to remedy the past, but what are some of the things that we can do, explicit acts we can do in the education sector, particularly in the roles like here at Te Pūkenga, that we can do to really accelerate that shift? Because it's happening, but it does need to happen more.
Yeah. So, the mahi that you and your rōpū do in the schools with the teachers, just upskilling them around te reo and tikanga and culture and the ngā kōrero o te rohe neina. And I suppose, I don't know how often your rōpū works with the teachers, but having that constant upskill and professional development, and making it, as you know, part of their school culture and the way they do things at their kura, not just tokenistic, which I found when I was teaching in mainstream years ago. And also, I suppose, even though Pākehā teachers don't replace us as the Māori teachers and experts and as Māori people, allowing a safe space within our parameters, not in their own parameters, to be able to, use the reo in their teaching, use especially the tikanga and the values of, and from that, our Māori students will start liking and engaging with the Pākehā teachers better, because that's one thing I really noticed, that our Māori students, when I was teaching, they really struggled with some of the classes of the Pākehā teachers. Albeit could have been the lack of relationship building, could have been that deficit thinking from the teachers, could have been the content, but many factors. But so programs like you, I've got a close friend who works for the ministry, and he's part of the Māori, I don't know the formal name of it, but he goes around to all the schools and ensures NCA that's been rolled out now, the new NCA curriculum and the history curriculum, has a strong Māori dynamic and focus and lens to it. So that's quite a big push and focus from the ministry. So a lot of things like that. Also, when I was teaching, they had some really good te reo Māori tikanga rauemi that they would create. And they'd put a lot of focus and energy towards that. So, but that was mainly just for te reo classes, so it should be all the subjects there. So
yeah, we're seeing a real shift, particularly in te tauihu, which is awesome. And so some of those things, I hope some of our kaiako can take on board, because ultimately that's what we want to accelerate the shift moving forward. Before we wrap up, I've got a few quick fire questions for you. So first one, hangi or boil up?
Boil up.
Ooh, kapa, I think you're one of the first ones. Puha, watercress?
Puha.
Fried bread, rewana?
Rewana.
Jam, golden syrup?
Golden syrup.
KFC, TT?
Oh, KFC.
Oh, I thought you were going to say TT. I think everyone said KFC so far. O e mihi ana ki a koe o te rā ki tō tāu a kōrero i tēnei ahi ai. Mihi ki ngā whakaro, kua puta, me te kaunga o ngā whakaro o roto. Nā reira, ko te manako ia, ka kite anō tāua ia tāua. Me te mea hoki e mihi ana ki a koe mō mahi nunui i roto i o tāua iwi, ki konei ki te tauiho te waka. Hoi anō, ka whakaerihia ko ngā kupu te tāhu o tēnei whare kia puta ki te whai au, ki te ao mārama. Tihei, mauri.